Hello, this is Shellie Enteen, and I'm speaking from the Namaste Center in Hendersonville today at the Soulful Celebration, and I'm going to be speaking about what are impeccable words and revisiting the first agreement. How many of you, if you can show me, have read the book, The Four Agreements? Good. So plenty of you are familiar with Don Miguel Ruiz. Beautiful little book. It came out a long time ago. Mastery of Love is another of his books. And when Charlotte said, could you please talk, what would you like to talk about? This book flew into my mind. I had no idea, but there it was. And when I picked it up and I saw that first agreement, be impeccable with your word, I said, this is so important. I'd like to talk about this. So basically the idea, we've been moving with this idea already this morning, that our thoughts are prayers, that our thought creates energy, and then energy will follow your thinking. Okay. So he says right in the beginning of his little chapter on the first of the four agreements, he says, it is the most difficult of the agreements to do. But if you could just do this, if this was the only thing you did, we'd have heaven on earth. Now, that's interesting. The first thing we should probably understand is what impeccable means to him. And then I had another level of impeccable come in this morning when I was thinking about it. It means, the word is broken down to mean without sin. So sin, we have a lot of charge on that word sin, and some people understand that it comes from a word that means missing the mark. Okay, so you're aiming at something but you don't make it. So if you're unable to hit the right place or focus in the right area, this is what he's talking about in this book. But some of you have also maybe experienced me talk about Aramaic language. And I know Dale Allen Huffman, who is the guy that I listen to about it, is going to be speaking here at the center in September. So I hope you'll come out and hear him. You'll be very inspired. I have no doubt about that. And he talked a little bit about this idea of sin in the Aramaic language. And I don't remember the word, I wish I did, but it really had to do with ripeness. The word translates into being perfectly ripe. And he talks about it as having a peach that is just at that place where when you bite into that peach, it's going to have the most fabulous taste and have all the nourishment. It's perfect in that moment. Okay? And so we move forward from that thought into the idea of being ripe as a person, being fully present and in the moment and allowing the perfection of the self to be there. The perfection, you're the peach. Okay. We were talking about peaches on the news this morning, so peach crops. You are the peach. How perfect are you feeling in the moment with you? And what is it when we use words that can stop you from experiencing this? Okay? So our thoughts are prayers, but they're also blocks. And this is the problem. We come in, little tabula rasa, well, maybe we have past life stuff, we've got a lot of DNA going on, so we're really not as rasa as we think. But in terms of our ability to become imprinted, we're wide open. And why are we so wide open? Because we want to survive. A Course in Miracles tells us this. It's the major focus of each incarnating ego is to survive in this world. So what happens is people start telling us how. the people close to us at first, start telling us this is how. You know, and maybe they're telling you things as you go along and you're observing things and it doesn't really ring true to you. But you kind of get the idea pretty fast that you better agree. Agreement is the way to get food and cookies. I like cookies. So we're going to try, we need to fit in so that we can survive and be supported and nurtured. All right? So this is like such a normal, natural thing. So the fact that we have allowed ourselves to take in these pieces of information and even repeat them to other people, to let other people know how we should, you know, it's just the way it has been. But there's a point in time that we're in now, I think, where we can really start lifting above this, you know, and start getting our own inner truth. I had a Native American teacher in Florida who informed us that we were coming out of the age of syndrome and control, and that age was characterized by the rise of organized religion, which told you that you needed an intermediary between you and the divine. Okay, so someone else can tell you what God thinks. First of all, they can tell you what God is. Then they can tell you what God says. I know a few years back, I saw on it, and I won't mention any names, so I don't want to do that, but some of you will remember this. It was a national magazine, and there was a picture of a leader in the United States, and it said that this leader was talking to God every day. And I thought, uh-oh, that's what I thought, but you know, it was supposed to be a good thing. And I was wondering, you know, did he call on the phone, you know, but anyway, you know, nobody else was speaking to God but this leader, and so he could tell us. Now, this has been a way, and we see it. I don't have to tell you. You all know this. This has been a way to control people. If they tell you what this God said to do this, you run off and do it, even if that's kill other people, that you didn't even know who they were until they were over there in some country doing whatever they were doing over there. But then somebody told you, we've got to, you know, God said, you know, all this stuff. So the age of syndrome and control has been based on, and it doesn't just have to be a religious leader. See, now we've gone way out into all kinds of authorities that we give our power to. This is the point. We let them think for us so that we don't go into that place, to that inner knowing place. Now, the New Age, according to my teacher, was called the Age of Illumination, and what the Native Americans called the restoration of the hollow bone. Okay, which is like your little line, your little empty tube that connects you directly to the divine, directly to your higher oversoul mind and beyond. So that's where we're walking into that. And some people say that this is the last month of the tunnel, and you know, we go into August and we're in Aquarius, and that is the age of illumination. The water bearer isn't bearing literal drops of wetness. This is an air sign. This is the chi energy. This is the unseen light energy. The water of life is that energy coming in, that knowing. So to me, it becomes even more important, the first agreement. Why? Because now is the time that we are supposed to awaken that teacher. So you can listen to me today to tell you this, because, you know, it's a nice thing to do, to come here. And every now and then I make you laugh. So that's great, and there are great people around you that have a similar idea, and that's nice to feel that fellowship, right? You know what I'm saying, right? And one of the things that I always found interesting is I'm a Sagittarius, and we're all about, that's the sole purpose about truth and stuff like that. So we can be very annoying also to other people. I mean, you know, if people don't want to hear certain things, zap out at them with a little arrow. But I've always kind of had an awareness of when I heard something, I don't care who was saying it, a teacher in school, somebody on television, somebody on the news, if it really wasn't true, there would be that little energy thing going, right? So you see, you have it too, right? But when you heard someone saying truth, what happens inside you? It's like a gong. It's like somebody hit a beautiful gong and it just goes, yeah. And that is what you can use as your guide. That's your guide. You know, I don't care what you see out there, asking yourself first, what do I feel about what I'm hearing, is probably the primary thing to have the focus. If we want to be impeccable in the thought and the word, we have to be able to be in that right feeling in the moment. What does it feel like when I hear this? Does it feel right? I mean, as an astrologer, people ask me questions all the time. You know, people want to know where to relocate, stuff like that. And I can tell them things, but I always tell them go in and hear. Listen, because your inner teacher knows where you're supposed to go next. You know, I can tell you great places because you have a Venus line going through this and that. I'm very happy to do that, by the way, if you want me to do it. But when you hear me say it to you, you need to feel your own, you know, okay, my Venus line goes through there, but you know what, it doesn't really, that's what you need to know. That's what you need to know. Now, other aspects of impeccable word have to do with what we say to others. I mean, part of it's what we've been receiving and believing. And that's why I'm excited that we're going to be doing some human mind pattern releasing this afternoon on how we give over the mental submissive pattern. You know, that we're going to be able to help clear some of that this afternoon. It's very thrilling to me. But what about what you said? I mean, one of the major things is gossip. And like anybody, you know, people bond around talking about other people. They bond around talking about problems. Carolyn Mace told us that many, many years ago. That was how we bonded. I have this problem. I can help you, or I can sympathize with you. And that's how we kind of try to come together. And talking about others, and having our opinions, expressing our point of view. When we do that, we plant seeds in people, okay? And we also plant them in ourselves. The more we say it, the truer it gets for us. Not true truth, but we hold it. It becomes harder. It starts growing. It takes root. Okay? And sometimes we kind of wish we could backtrack on what we said. But you know what? I'm so identified out there with that point of view and that belief about that person that I can't even turn around, and I'm afraid I'll lose face if I present a different thought. What about all those people I have around me agreeing with me? They'll go away, right? And remember that original need of that incarnating baby is to be accepted, nurtured, and to survive. So we can tell people things about other people, and that makes them have expectations about that person. If they're positive, you know, it's still an expectation. You know, the person has to live up to that. They have to be exactly what the person said. If it's negative, then, you know, you're coming right in on that and expecting it not to be, you know, even if it's like a movie. Let's say, you know, how was that movie? I hated it. I thought he was terrible in it. So you walk in looking to see What are you looking for? The terrible. Because somebody planted that. Right? And I think it's fascinating that even our political experience now has become more of a gossip-oriented, you know, we're so People magazine now, and we're so gossip-oriented that we're not sitting and hearing someone or hearing information and taking it in and saying, true, or, right? That would be much more valuable for us. And you know, people who want to manipulate you really know this. You know, everything I'm telling you right now, they really know it. Advertising agencies knew it. That's one of the reasons I used to be in advertising years ago, and I went, I can't be there anymore. You know, I mean, it was like, let's see, how can I get someone to buy something? I'll say whatever I need to say, right? So we have to step away from what's being done in that light just to get our inner truth about things now, I think. We can be very damaging. We can actually, when we say something to someone, if someone comes to you and says, you know, I'm feeling this or that, and you jump in and say, that sounds like, you know, 4th stage, blah, blah, blah. Wow. Talk about a seed in a fertile mind. You know, you want to be really aware. This is why he said it's the hardest thing to do. I mean, I recently had an infection. I had to take an antibiotic. I really had to take an antibiotic, and I mentioned that to someone. And I started to hear the litany of the, I said, okay, whoa, all right, just stop right there. Because I probably would have been saying that to somebody else myself at a certain point in time. But right now, I need this. And this is my intention. Because intention is setting the target for the thought to go. That's being focused. And I said, this is just going to go to that infection. It's going to clear it, and it's going to be gone. Will you support me in that? You know, and it's very hard for people because, you know, we have our beliefs about everything. It really doesn't matter what thing it is. Okay? I mean, you can think it's a really good thing to believe. I mean, yogis have shown us you can eat nails. Okay, they're always out there annoyingly proving that there are no limitations and we're setting our limitations, but you know, they're little guys in white stuff and you know, we're not there, so we can let them do that. But for us, you know, we must have, it could be something really simple, like, and I really look at this all the time with what's going on geophysically on the planet. You know, this is like natural stuff that's happening, but it's been made into some mythical thing. You know, we've got like somebody being angry at us, and that's why we have a storm. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, these are natural things. These are processes on the earth, and yes, things are changing, right? So things are changing, but they're still natural processes. We've always had rain, you know, we've always had fire, we've always had these things. But what happens is the focus. Look at the focus again. This morning, I'm listening to the news, which is always very dangerous anyway, but you know, they're reporting on the conditions in the Midwest. And they're making a statement. There is, what did God say? Let there be light. So, and there was light. So, if somebody's out there, we're God, right? We're all connected to that divine source saying, there is drought in this area. And it's ruining everything, and in 6 months to a year, you're paying more money for all your food. I mean, that's a really intense picture to be, you know, A couple of years ago, this area was in a serious drought condition. Some of you may remember that. Atlanta had 3 days left of their public water or something. It was pretty wild. You know, and the metaphysical community got together and said, all right, it's time. We have to do our, like, focus now. We have to focus out of the fear. See, because the fear, okay, I have 5 minutes to tell you this. The fear is what these things feed. All right? So you've got to do what, again, I'm always talking about my Native American teachers, but they taught me to say thank you for what wasn't there yet. And that, if you think about it, is pretty clever, because you're declaring it's there. Thank you for this rain. Thank you for this rain that comes in a good way and harms nothing and nourishes all creation. You are responsible, by the way, for what you're thinking and how it affects your environment. So if I hear that a tornado with 6 inches of rain is coming, I don't go there. I don't keep seeing that. I don't keep feeding that. I will say inside, thank you for this rain that comes to me in my area in a good way that harms none and is nourishing to all creation. You know? And that's what happens. You think I'm the only person who can do that? Every mind can do this. And that's why he said if we just had the first agreement, if we could just do the first one, there would be heaven on earth, because we would be responsible to knowing what our thoughts and our words are creating. And we would choose to create good things, because we wouldn't have to do anything else. So my challenge to all of us is to think about this, you know, and don't make yourself bad and wrong when you notice that you're not doing it, because it is the hardest one. It is the hardest one. So it's like a boot camp then. Think about, you know, you're starting out, and I'm going to see how I do. And when you notice that you didn't, just say, okay, thank you for sharing. I'm going to cancel clear that thought was something that was in Silver Mind Control or something. You know, you would say something or you think something and then you go, cancel clear. Yeah, you're a computer. It's okay. You can take that out. Delete. You don't have to put a negative judgment in against the self, because if you keep judging yourself negatively, is that going to do you any good? Is that heaven on earth? Negative judgment about self. I don't think so. I mean, but that's me. You have to go into you and find out if that's the truth. But anyway, I hope that, again, I hope that you will come this afternoon, because there are things that we're all partaking of, and this energy clearing work can help us lift all minds. So if you can come back at 2 o'clock and be with us, that'd be great. If not, again, just put, where's your focus? You know, put some of that energy here. Intend it now. I am participating in that circle this afternoon, and you will be. Yes?
At what time is this this afternoon?
2 o'clock, 2 to 4.
I want to bring out to you that the word in Aramaic for light is bashel.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. We had an Aramaic scholar. Thank you.